Hey guys, welcome. Today we're talking about marketing and how it relates to real estate investing. And the reason that I'm bringing this up as a topic, it seems that everybody kind of considers marketing and advertising to go hand in hand in the first place, and it really does not. Marketing is understanding your demographics, who's going to be doing the buying, who's going to be the renter, this, that, and the other. And in my mind, and I've been doing this for about 40 years of real estate investing, in my mind, marketing is the one task that continues on throughout the entire process. A friend of mine several years ago, when with the internet, all these internet things, were buying properties outside of our own backyard, and every market across the country is different. Okay, Memphis is not Los Angeles, is not New York, is not Chicago, is not Denver, it's not Miami. So when you are looking at investing in another state, you need to understand the market in that state before you ever buy, or at least before you ever fully execute a purchase contract. The issue being this: a guy went online and found a house for $500, and he thought, hey, how can I lose? And he did lose. And actually, one of the real estate courses that I put together, that is something I shared. I'm doing this for free, and it's not about selling you anything. It is all about, I want the real estate investors to understand that there's more to it than just going and finding a house out somewhere and buying it and fixing it up and flipping it. There's a lot more in real estate investing, and most of us already know this. But I know some of us old timers also get so carried away in what we're doing, we forget to think about the fundamental basics. So fundamentally, marketing to me, before you even go into an area, is to understand that area, understand the demographics of that area. And it gets down to subdivision levels. Everybody, realtors have all this knowledge and all this in their local markets. Now, you can't ask a professional realtor in Memphis what's going on in Los Angeles. They're just two different altogether markets. So using a realtor is actually a good thing for information, okay, especially. Now, no realtor wants to work for free, and don't expect them to, okay? And I know that a lot of people say, well, if I buy this house, I will use you to represent on the house if you'll get me this information. Sign a purchasing agreement, a representation agreement with them. Realtors are there to make money, and they do provide real estate investors a very valuable service. Now, not every real estate agent or realtor understands real estate investing. It is a different animal than buying and selling homes to end users. It's just different. And a lot of realtors don't understand what you're trying to accomplish and they're just looking at, hey, here's a paycheck. And I know many realtors, when an investor comes along and says, hey, I want to offer $50,000, and they look at you and say, wait a minute, this property's worth $100,000. Why are we making a low ball offer? Because we're not buying at the same level as an end user would buy. We understand that, but a lot of times they do not. They look at about one client about every 7.5 years of being able to resell a house or buy a new house or whatever. That's kind of the timeline right now, 7.5 years. It's actually stretching a little bit with the economy. But all that aside, what they fail to realize many times is, as an investor, if they can get the team in place, probably going to do several houses a year. Here locally, I know of people doing 5 and 6 houses a month, and the realtor that works for them now, that's all they do, because they make more money working with that one real estate investor than they do trying to go out and find buyers and sellers or do the marketing, spend the money on the marketing. So from the investor standpoint, you need to understand your market, get you a good realtor in the area that you're thinking about buying in, and understand the location. I mean, we've all heard it, location, location, location. But at the end of the day, it's more than location. It's understanding what the workforce is, what the crime rate is, what the schools are like, especially when you're going to be doing, properties where people are going to reside, whether it be apartment complex, whether it be single family house, duplex, triplex, quad, whatever, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you've got to be able to attract those people to your property, and understanding the people that's going to be there is critical. And this one guy I mentioned a while ago, he saw this house out there for $500 and thought, how can I go wrong? And he bought a house in a market that had no rental capability because the area was a crime-ridden disaster. And I think he spent money fixing the property up, and I think it was like $12,000-$15,000, kind of bringing it up to a rental standard in a generic market. Okay, that's okay, except he had no renters. Obviously, if it's somebody will not rent there, nobody's going to buy there to live. So that wiped out that area. So then he goes to other investors and they're like, I can't rent it. I can't do anything with it. Why would I do that? Meanwhile, he's got money tied up now and he's paying city and county property taxes. Well, and it's not that bad in that particular area, but it is still just money flowing out the pocket with no source of income. And I didn't get to him in time. He finally just relinquished the property and allowed the city of Memphis just to take it over for taxes due, and walked away from the thing and took a loss. That was a loss that was totally avoidable. And that's what I'm going to encourage you when you think about marketing. Start on the very front end. Think about marketing. Who is going to be the buyer for this property? Do we even have a buyer? Then maybe you need a tax write-off. Okay, that is one option to get in and out of a property with a tax write-off, and that's by buying it, doing the very minimum to fix it up, and then donating it to a church or similar organization that wants to use it as emergency housing or low-income housing or something. You can do that and take the tax write-off at that point, and then that equates something back to you. But at the end of the day, I don't mind giving stuff away, but I don't like to just do properties, okay? So at the very front end, marketing is important, understanding where you're going to buy. When you're going to do your rehab estimate, you need to understand who's going to be doing the buying, because your marketing plays into what you're going to do on the property. And obviously, it gets into some things when you get into high-end neighborhoods, okay? And you buy this house and you're going to fix it up. You're going to have to fix the house up to the standards of that neighborhood. You don't buy a $500,000 piece of property and go in and spend the bare minimum to do a rental standard, okay? You're going to go in and make it worth the 500 grand or 6 or whatever. You can actually bump it up a little bit by what you do. And right now, environmental enhancements are great because you're getting $1.25 payback on the investment you made. Plus, it increases and enhances the sellability of that property. So in your rehab estimate, think about that things. Look at even going into the state's tax incentives, the local power company tax incentives, the Fed tax incentives and tax rebates for the augmented energy, whether it be, in some cases, it's just thicker insulation and you can get some benefits. So you want to look at what is available in that local market. You want to look at the mentality in that local market. In some areas of the country, they don't care anything about environmental stuff. They just don't. Now, the government, right now, until something changes, right now, the government is giving federal benefits. I know that a lot of the local power and utility companies are still giving different benefits. So, but at the same time, if people's mindset, that's not good for them, you're going to have to market these things to them in a special way. Okay. Energy efficiency, talk about lowering the utility bill. So now that's rolling a little bit into the advertising side, but from a marketing standpoint, you need to know and understand the people that's going to be buying your property, what motivates them, because they are the decision maker as to whether or not you're going to get a paycheck on that property. Now, granted, it only takes one, but how many people are going to look at that property before they make the decision that your property is the one that they want, whether buying or renting? And you don't want to get into a situation where you have to sell or you have to do something. So you want to do this right on the front end. And again, I'm only saying things like this simply because marketing has become an overlooked aspect of real estate investing. Out of 29, 30 million real estate investors across this country, as more and more people are trying to get into it, there's still only about a million one of all these investors that actually have become millionaires. But real estate is still the number one industry for making millionaires. But you can't get there if you don't know how to get there. So, and to be honest with you, I don't like to see people lose money. Money's too hard to come by these days. If you go to the grocery stores and see inflation, it's definitely horrible. So go back on your very front end purchase before you buy. Leave yourself an out in the contract if you don't have time to market in advance and you want to kind of get a temporary lock on the property. Leave yourself an inspection out clause in the contract. It's very simple to do, and it will give you that time that you need to do the market. But don't ignore the market research, because the first thing you do when you buy a house is you start thinking about, well, the rehab and this, that, and the other. You've looked at maybe the market value. Use a realtor to help you, because a plug, and nothing against any of these websites out there, a computer algorithm cannot compete with a trained mind of a real estate professional, whether a real estate agent or realtor. A computer algorithm simply cannot do it. It's pulling from the same data, but it's not pulling all the subversive data into the equation. It's using hard data. Realtors know the soft data that massages the hard data so that you derive a true and actual representation of market. Okay. And it varies. In Memphis, I'm going to tell you now, I can take a neighborhood and a property within a quarter of a mile of another property, and the valuation per square foot, the dollar per square foot, be totally different. Just the way that that particular submarket is. We don't control that. And, you know, we joke around Memphis that the surveyors and the planners were all riding around on the back of drunk camels trying to figure out how to lay out the city of Memphis. Memphis became a hodgepodge. So in certain areas, you can have a $700,000 house and less than a quarter of a mile away have a $50,000 house on the same street. So go figure. When you run the computer algorithm, okay, it's going to log everything within a 2 to 3 mile radius of those houses. It's going to put them all in. It's going to blend all those prices together, and it's going to change your average and your high. So the computer is going to balance it between the ones sold and not sold quantities, and it drives, and it's a complex algorithm, guys. Somebody did a lot of work on it. It's just not a perfect algorithm. It doesn't fully do it. And if you noticed recently, Zillow's getting out of buying houses in the real estate market from a standpoint of buying up houses. They've realized the mistake that's been made. A lot of that was because of their algorithms they relied on that wasn't accurate. Okay, I've seen as much as a 60% valuation difference in a piece of property that come in at one price, 100 grand, and the property was really only worth about 45, somewhere in that neighborhood. And we had an investor that bought into it, and he's like, what am I going to do? You're going to take a loss. There's nothing you can do, okay? The market is the market. The appraisers look at this, and realtors look at this. And instead of spending $500 for an appraisal, just go to a realtor. But be sure to get your data correct and understand what that market is before you buy. Now, it's not as drawn out as it might seem. It takes a realtor 10, 15 minutes to do a broker's price opinion and be able to actually look at that property. You want an investor-friendly real estate agent or realtor, and you want one who understands that sub-market. Okay, I can be a realtor in maybe East Memphis and not know anything about Midtown Memphis. Midtown Memphis is its own animal. And I mean, you really need a Midtown agent if you're going to be doing business in Midtown. Now, that's just my market here. What I'm saying is you need to study and know and learn. This is your money, your credit, your money, your life's work, whatever you may want to call it. Even if you're doing this part-time and you still have your day job, real estate investing can bankrupt you if you don't do it right. So spend the time to market and understand on the front end, understand on the rehab, market again before you put the advertising out there. And when you do advertising, it's not a cut and dried one thing fits all. You may have a potential of multiple exit strategy markets. Okay. Maybe it is a buy and hold. Maybe it is a turnkey flip to another investor. You need to figure out what your market is, what your price point is for those markets, and don't always worry about making the most money, but worry about moving the property as quickly as possible. Because in my mind, real estate investing is more about return on investment than it is about actual quote unquote dollar profits. Because a long time ago, I learned if you take care of the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves. Take care of your return on investment and the profits will be there. Okay. So you might be surprised actually when you focus on that, how much more money you're going to actually make. So spend your time, do your homework, understand everything, and then proceed. Okay. And like I was talking about, when you have multiple potential exit strategies, market, understand who your buyer is, and realize that the advertising that you're going to create for that particular market has got to appeal to the emotional needs, the emotional desires of the decision maker. Okay. If you're doing a single family residence and it's strictly up, I'm going to buy it and flip it to an end-use homeowner, you're going to appeal to the female. She is the ultimate decision maker. The male just does yes, ma'am. You know that. Guys just the guy's responsibility is to figure out how to pay for what mama wants. But ultimately, mama decides which house is bought. If you're going to a business on a commercial property, again, you're going to appeal to the emotional needs and desires of the business owner. Facts are one thing. People can find facts every day of the week. You want to use your advertising based on your marketing and appeal to those emotional needs. So, bring in a little advertising into marketing because they are interrelated, but marketing within itself stands on its own. Understand those demographics. Look at the crime situation. Is this a rental market? Is this a flip market? What is my time on market? So just take the time. I don't own a realtor company anymore. I used to do this, but no more. I'm out of all that sequence. I strictly, basically, I'm semi-retired. I try to help people in real estate investing because it's the greatest way to make money that I've ever seen. But it's a matter of you doing it properly. And I hate to see people go out and spend money on courses and never apply them. What's worse is I hate to see people go spend money on courses and the courses not tell you everything you really need to know. Take a course that lays out and creates a mindset and an understanding of what you're to do as a real estate investor, how you're to think, even on your marketing. Don't get tied to a property. Make someone else get tied to your property. I fell in love with a property one time. Worst real estate deal I ever made in my life. And it's out there. In fact, it's everywhere. I'm notorious for this property. But in any case, I fell in love with the property. I mean, I had so many things going against me in this whole deal. I should have been horsewhipped for even doing the deal in the first place. And the property was given to me for free. So market and understand what you're getting into. Okay, there's a lot of things going on out there. So when you're looking at properties, check and see if there's environmental stuff out there, especially if it's an old factory or a gas station, a convenience store that had a gas tank at any time. You need to be very wary. Get you a stage 1 environmental study done to make sure you're protected. Because when the EPA comes knocking, they come knocking on everyone's door. Everyone who has owned it and the current owner. And the current owner is not exempt from cash contributions to the cleanup. And the EPA doesn't play games, guys. So that's part of marketing. Understanding more about the property is that what is the end result of the property. So when you roll from understanding the area and the demographics of the buy, you can also look at a property because how will that property market? What is the market for this property? Is there a better use for the property? Or is it going to be a single family residence and that's all there'll ever be? Or is it a warehouse? Is there not anything I can do to make it something other than a warehouse? So when you're looking at marketing, even on, and I don't advise you to buy anything unless you have a clearly defined, truly marketed exit strategy in your mind. And it's better to have two, because Murphy's Law says, if you think something's going to work, it's probably not, right? And it's going to happen at the most inopportune time. So what is the potential of a property? I have a piece of property that I picked up. The resale value wasn't there. It's not a strong rental market. It wasn't that great of a buy, to be honest with you. But when I stopped and marketed the property, okay, what is the actual potential for this piece of property? I found a solution, and it's making money. So, so we've talked about those, and I'm going to re-encourage you to be very aware of certain commercial properties. But a commercial property has many options that you can get into. And guys, don't get all worked up over the single family residences. There is as much or more money in commercial properties as there are in residential properties. You've got all kinds of issues when you're dealing with residents in the first place. I probably should do a whole study guide on dealing with property management. But don't get so focused on what you're doing that you forget the very basics of what needs to be done. So we know that we have properties, demographics, marketing, we have marketing for rehab, we have marketing to identify the exit strategies and who the buyer is. Again, trying to establish emotional need. And then on the property itself, marketing to understand what its potential is. Okay, what is the best and highest use value for the property? And things have changed. This market is shifting faster than you can imagine. So when you're looking at this, look at what the government's doing, because they play an important function in what you can do. And we're all about making money at the end of the day, or providing for that long-term income. And you need to, as a real estate investor, you need to plan on doing both. You need to have some fix and flips, some wholesale deals that you just find a great deal. Don't waste your time messing with it. Pop it off to another investor. That's a wholesale. Make a couple of grand and go. The fix and flip. Find you some people to work with. Have a team. I'm big on networking. That's why I'm here at Alignable. That's why I did this group. I am really big on networking because I like to do with people across the country. In fact, I deal globally. So I do a lot of investing in Europe. I do investing in Eastern Europe. I like Eastern Europe because it's undervalued, underpriced, and the dollar exchange is wonderful. So you got to be looking outside of your backyard, which may be the area you know best. But when you go outside of your backyard, you need to learn that area. Myself, I went to Eastern Europe and spent a couple of weeks over there just looking, seeing what was available, talking to the people and understanding the demographics, because it's not something that you can necessarily get when you're over there trying to speak to somebody that doesn't even speak your excuse me, doesn't even speak your language. But whether it's commercial or residential, this is a big global world now for real estate investing. You got money people in Europe that want to invest in the US. You got money people in the US that want to invest in Europe. You got them in Asia, you got them in the Middle East, you got them in Africa, and you got them in South America. And all of these markets, you can say, well, some of these are not stable. The idea is to know what you're doing and to have the information at your disposal locked away in your brain here to make a viable decision when you're sitting on a computer buying somewhere else, whether it's, to be honest with you, whether it's across town or across the country or across the globe. Get your data, market. Well, and the advertising will come later. But understanding that is where you go. And another thing is to look at subdivision areas in advance. If you study the marketing, okay, you can actually learn what areas are going to explode next. Then you're going in ahead of the game. Yes, it's a little speculative, but if you take the time and really research and understand the market, in a lot of cases, you can predict where the government is going to roll money. Okay, you're going to be able to predict the area that's going to boom. We got wind a while back of a major corporation putting a facility in Memphis. We got wind of it, but we had no idea where it was. And we spent time studying the market. And it wasn't just me, okay? There was like 4 or 5 of us that were doing this. We didn't know we were doing it. We were competition, baby, competition. We didn't know, but we started looking and we identified 2 specific areas. And we started actually doing some preliminary legwork to get buyers or sellers in place so that we could go in and buy these properties. Extremely depressed area. And sure enough, they moved to one of the areas and we were Johnny on the spot, ready to go, cash in the hand, and we started popping deals. And property values went up by 20, 25% in less than a year. So again, marketing is a key to whether you're just going to be one of the 30 million real estate investors in the United States, or whether you're going to be one of the 1 million multi-millionaire real estate investors in the United States. And to me, it all started with marketing and understanding what I was selling. Okay. If I had a widget and I didn't tell you what it was going to do, and I didn't know if I had a market for it, but I spent a bunch of money selling it, I'm running a huge risk as to whether anyone will buy it. The old adage of build it and they will come is not true. Okay. Understand that they will come. Make sure that you know they're going to come, not just assume that they will come. Just because you have a house, just because you have a decent price tag on the house, does not mean that house is going to move in the time frame that you want it to move it in. And time, my friends, is money. So that's my presentation I wanted to make on wholesaling. And we've been recording this, and some people don't want really to be on record. And I'm going to stop the recording. And so then we can continue to talk offline. So thanks, guys. And again, my name is Kenny Medlin, Alignable. I'm the admin for the Real Estate Investors Group here on Alignable.com. And I hope that y'all watch this. I hope you find it a little bit informative. And if you ever want to reach out to me, you know how to find me, guys. So have a wonderful day. And it's almost the holiday season here in the United States. So happy holidays to everyone.